Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters here at Season 10 live from Cologne, Germany, as we get closer and closer to finding out who will be crowned the second Intel Extreme Masters of the new season. Joining me is the fantastic duo and now trio, the Oz-Brit combos. Good to have you both up on the desk again.
It's good to be back, man. Yeah.
you have a different hairstyle each day. Like yesterday was down, today is up. What's tomorrow?
Well, I mean, it was down for the start of today at least, but I want to keep people guessing and try and change things up a little bit.
Me and Pig can't really do that, sadly. It's either one way or the other.
Well, you could shave it.
I mean, we could shave it, but then it's going less and less hair each day.
Yeah, it's different layers of shaving till you're bald and you grow out your facial hair.
The one thing you can do is you can take your glasses off and pretend like you're Clark Kent.
That's neat.
Superman.
Might need to spend a bit of time in the gym first before I rip my shirt open. Yeah, it might be a little bit disappointing.
No, Pig. It's time for Group B. We've completed with Group A, and we're going to be moving into Group B now. So as you can see here on screen, Group A is over. It's not fully updated on the graphic, but it is Sue in first place and MMA in second place. The two Koreans go through in first and second there. And now it's time to start the second half of the day. So the first match that we're going to be going into is Lilbow versus Fantasy. Innovation versus Ret will not be played on this stream. It will be played at the exact same time. And then from here on out, we'll be going into the winners match, the lower bracket match, and then the elimination match to close up the evening. So let's start talking about our first match then that we have. We have Lilbow going up against Fantasy, a rematch of just a single week ago, Pig.
Yeah, it's a really important match as well, because if you look at this group, I think Innovation is the clear favorite to take first place, but that second place is really up for grabs, and I think Lilbow and Fantasy are probably the slightly more favored players here. Ret's been doing very, very well, but I think this match is going to be very important to see where the rest of the group goes. And I believe it was a 2-0 win for Fantasy just last week at Asus.
Might have been even 2-1. Was it 2-0?
I think it's 2-0, yeah.
Ah, damn. Well, there's that, and as well as Fantasy also played Red not too long ago as well. But looking back at Lilbow versus Fantasy, yeah, it's going to be a close one, I think. Should be pretty interesting considering they do have that recent result. And yeah.
It's a difficult group here because, you know, like you said, if Lilbow is able to win this, is he going to face Innovation in the winners match? I mean, that's a different thing. I guess we'll talk a little bit about later on. But thinking about which way this group goes is overall, before we start talking a little bit closer about the players, I mean, is this as simple as the Koreans are going through and the Europeans are out, or is it a little bit more complicated than that?
I kind of feel like Fantasy's a little bit hot or cold sometimes. Sometimes he looks so incredible, and then other times I feel like a player like Lilbow, who's incredibly strong, and even Ret, who's very good in TvZ, like they've got opportunities to close this out. If they can throw him off balance, things can go awry very quickly. I often feel like Fantasy is very much a player who thrives when he's in control of what's going on in the game. He can make amazing things happen, but if the balance is thrown off for him, I think anything could go.
Well, let's switch our focus then to Lilbow for a little bit and talk about the Frenchman who's been making waves in the international scene now. Every part of StarCraft, it's no longer just national competition for this guy. It's almost no longer European competition for this guy. It's kind of breached into the next level, which is where he's competing almost week in, week out now against a lot of these top tier Koreans. Of course, he's the finalist of the most recent Premier League. And all of a sudden, almost feeling out of nowhere, this guy's shot to the top of the scene, Moonblade.
Yeah, it seems to be happening with a lot of these French players recently, as well as Petit Drogo. I mean, you can even look at his road to qualifying here. He beat 4GG on the way, which is, you know, a great sort of result to have in this matchup, looking at this against another Korean player. And he's at the top of his game right now. He's a great opportunity. Certainly the weaker Korean in this group. And Fantasy has shown weakness against Protoss in the past, especially in DreamHack Valencia, where he dropped to his teammate Patience.
Well, Fantasy is just inside the top 16 right now in the World Championship Series ranking. Comes in at rank number 15. And I was looking a little bit closer at his results. He hasn't really had anything substantial. There's no really final or top 4. He's just been very consistent this year. By far his best year in StarCraft 2. There's been a lot of round of 32s, a lot of round of 16s, cheeky round of 8 over here, and he's actually built up enough points to push him in that top 16. I mean, Moonglade, you've been covering this guy a lot in the Korean leagues.
Yeah, we see him now and then. He doesn't have that much success, and he really isn't part of a pro league team, unfortunately. So we do see him in the individual leagues now and then. He doesn't find too much, as you said. Like he kind of just grinds it out. He's been grinding it all year, so he gets these points, but it's never the big win, never even the finals. It's just he makes those top 8s, those top 16s.
What is it about fantasy that, I mean, it's safe to say this is by far his best year in StarCraft 2, by miles and miles and miles. What is it that's pushed him this far? Is it just, you know, the relentless practice and continuation and hammering down the hours and hours until eventually he broke out?
Yeah, he's certainly been leveling up his play a lot. Like I've seen him a lot this year, and I've really been impressed with how he's handling himself. Just gradually improving, I think. He joined a foreign team, which is always going to take a dip in your skill for any Korean player who's used to a Kespa team, especially, you know, after leaving that house. So, yeah, I guess it took some getting used to. Now he's kind of used to it this year, and he's starting to improve again, which is great to see.
And very similar to how Fantasy's just kind of inside the top 16. Lilbow's just kind of outside the top 16 now. And a lot of heads, especially the French ones, have kind of turned away from Snoot and from Bunny, especially with Bunny's recent departure from the World Championship Series already in Season 3. And attention's turned to this young man. Is the question going around a lot more is he actually going to get top 16? Because his results recently pushing him in that direction. He comes into this at rank 22.
A good run here is going to make all the difference in that regard. Only rank 22, that's not too far out of that top 16, and we know he's still in WCS Season 3. That's like one of the biggest points that he could pick up. So a good run here and a good run in Season 3 of WCS is suddenly going to launch him really high in those rankings.
He's so confident. I mean, we saw him play in WCS, even in Asus ROG. He was calling out both Fantasy and True. He was like, no, come on, bring them on. You know, they can try their style against me. We'll see how that works out. And we did see how it worked out. He got shut down and lost. You think that's going to be the case again today? Because Lilbow has very much so put himself on top of the scene, and now all the Koreans have switched their focus to, okay, you're the next Snoot, you're the next Bunny, let me have a look at you a little bit closer. And they started to, you know, break down his play and started to figure out how to stop him.
It's always a scary point as a player when you're suddenly on that stage, everyone's studying your games, dissecting how you like to play. But we're talking a bit, you know, about Petit Drogo in the open bracket yesterday and how that's kind of hurt him sometimes. I think Lilbow, he's been around that respected level for long enough now that he's learned to diversify his play up a lot. He loves to really throw his opponents off balance, and if he kind of smells a hint of weakness, he's going to dive on top of that. Like we saw him absolutely crush through Bunny in, I believe it was the round of 8 of WCS last season. He's just prone to getting in there and trying to kill people.
You see a bit of smack talk going on, but what I was going to say is it's good that this is the first match of the day as well, because he's going to be facing the weaker Terran player in the group. He doesn't have to show everything, he's going to show everything in this match, so Innovation's going to get a look at this and have maybe an easier time if Lilbow wins, for instance, as a lot of these players do.
So, I mean, this is a close-ish kind of series. It's not very simple who's going to win, but who do you guys think is going to win, though?
I think we're going to see Fantasy take this one, but I think it's going to be very close.
Yeah, you agree with good old MG here?
Oh, you know, I was maybe slightly favoring that way, but just to be different, I'm going to say, like, it could go either way. 2-1 Lilbow, he's going to take this.
And if you guys would play a best of 3, who would win?
That'd probably be me. Maybe.
Oh, you know, if you don't need to brag if you know what's going to happen. It's all right. No big words. I just speak through my actions.
One last thing then, before we get ready for this game. If I'm going to go ahead and say Lilbow, you know, just is the weaker player here. What does Lilbow need to do to beat Fantasy? Is it to play his aggressive own style? Is it to get inside this guy's head? Is it to show him his style? What is it, Moonblade?
Aggression, I think, would be a pretty big key. It was the key for Patience destroying him. Patience took him apart pretty handily, and I mean, I'm sure he looked back at those matches and really took that in. If that's kind of his style, if that's where he's most comfortable going that route, would be a great idea.
All right, then. Thank you very much, gentlemen. It's time to head to the commentary team for the first match of Group B. Which way is this going to go? Is it going the French way, or is it going the Korean way?
I wish I knew, Sean, but I can't give you the answer yet. I did like that cheeky question to the Australians, though. So if you guys play a best of 3 just out of nowhere, Sean loves this. Like, Sean lives for this. Sean never really plays, but he likes to stir up a thing or two.
He's very good at dodging a best of 5 show match against Funka, but he calls everybody out.
I know. He's like, the thing about Sean is like, Sean just throws up a ball and he knows that everyone will start fighting for this ball. So he's just like, hey guys, cheeky comment, insert cheeky comment here, and then he just knows that the boys will go at it. And then Sean is like,
he's not the only one, though. I mean, who would win between us?
I mean, like, I like to go by previous results, so.
And?
Well, you know,
what happened in the previous times that we played?
Well, I believe
you won 1 series out of 15.
That was a best of 5. That was the last official best of 5, Todd. You're setting yourself up for this.
It's okay. Well, you know what? The show finished around, 10 p.m.?
You know what?
I got my keyboard and PC upstairs. I guess we're on.
You know, I think that Carmack is watching this right now. And Carmack is like, you know what? The next Intel Extreme Masters, no players are invited. Full commentators. He's inviting 16 commentators. And it's going to be the tournament of the century. Carmack will make you so proud.
And Apollo will be alone on the panel. And Kyle Irish solo cast everything from here.
I can see it happen. All right, we're ready for the series that truly matters. Much more than our little chitty chat over here. It's going to be Lilbow versus Fantasy. A series that I'm personally pretty damn hyped for, Todd. Over here on the left-top side of Coda, we've got your Frenchie representing Millennium. It is our very own Lilbow. I like him, man. I like how he was relaxing a little bit in the game lobby as well. Chatting up Fantasy. He's like, are you the real Fantasy? It's like, yes. Oh my god.
Classic line. Fantasy, no reaction whatsoever. I can't wait to get down with this guy. Probably what he thought.
The best reaction for Fantasy would have been like, Lilbow who? It's like, not as like, are you real Lilbow? It's just like, who is Lilbow? On the right bottom side of Coda, we're of course looking at the main base of Dead Pixels Fantasy. Still looking for his first big StarCraft 2 tournament championship. This could be the one. It's not going to be easy with big players like Sue and Innovation, but Fantasy has, you know, taken maps of those players in the past, and he just needs everything to connect one time, one weekend. If everything lines up, I do think Fantasy has what it takes to win a tournament like the Intel Extreme Masters.
He's overlooked a lot, I think. Like, if, you know, people look at the player list here at this tournament, they're like, oh yeah, it's all about, you know, Innovation and Sue, but guys, you know, like Fantasy, I do think they have what it takes here to maybe upset, you know, either of these players and possibly go really far and do well. But first, he's gonna come through a victory here against Lilbow, whom he beat recently. But I spoke a little bit with Lilbow about those games, and he was telling me that, you know, it's the classic, I made these mistakes, and if I didn't, I should have won. That's pretty much what he said. You know, map number 2, he was like, well, you know, I messed up a little bit. I was doing well for 15 minutes, but then I kind of derped and I lost. Map number 1, mis-executed my build and I lost. So this time he's looking to do better.
How do you feel about Lilbow's PvT in general, Todd? Because I'm really not sure how to feel about it. Like, whenever I see him go up against foreign Terrans, I often worry, and then he's actually, you know, he's often pretty convincing. His series against Marine Lord, for instance, in the quarterfinals of WCS Premier League Season 2. There's no way I would have predicted a 3-0 for Lilbow, but it happened.
Yeah.
For some reason, his results are good, but I never feel that his play is flawless. Do you share that opinion?
I think he's pretty darn good. Yeah, not flawless. I mean, nobody's Rain, other than Rain himself. But I think there is some very, very good things to it, like how unpredictable he is. Back, you know, when he has the crazy WCS run that he had, I think he played the mind games really well, because Lilbow is kind of like one of those players where I feel like if you play more and more against him, you discover more how he plays and you're going to be able to do better. Now, he played 1,000 times against Marine Lord, but somehow Marine Lord wasn't even able back then to read into what Lilbow was doing. Now, somebody like Fantasy, by the look of things, you know, he already wants to spice things up. You're going for, you know, pretty quick factory in there. Probably going to go for Hellions as well. So, Fantasy, it seems like he wants to be the one setting up the pace in this series.
Yeah, this is an opening that's becoming more and more popular. Terran will open up with 2 Hellions, and of course followed up with a Medevac and then maybe 1 Widow Mine and then a few Marines, so it's kind of double aggression. And in an ideal scenario for the Terran, the first 2 Hellions will force out a Photon Overcharge. Now, I don't think Lilbow would ever use Photon Overcharge for 2 Hellions, because he's much smarter than I am, Todd, but I've used Photon Overcharge against the first 2 Hellions, and then the follow-up with a Mine Drop, that's just going to absolutely demolish your economy.
I've used Photon Overcharge for 1 Reaper. When he was going to get away and I didn't moment when I accepted.
Yeah,
I
it's
died
because-
to the follow-up attack, but I got that guy, let me tell you.
I completely know that feeling so well. Every now and then it's just like, you know, I'm so done with this Reaper shooting at my probes. Out of principle, I'll use Photon Overcharge right now. And then people watch my stream, they're like, Roddy, was it worth it? I was like, no, absolutely not. But it felt so good.
It wasn't worth it, but I had to, man.
Oh my god! This is so bad for Lilbow. He's gonna end up losing 4 or 5 workers over here. Well, how unfortunate. And uses the Photon Overcharge as well, but in the natural. So maybe this Hellion will still do a little bit of work.
Yeah, already with 4 kills here in terms of probes for Fantasy.
Oh my
Lilbow
God.
trying to save as much as he can. He's just gonna be the 4 kills, but when I say just 4, I mean, could have been 0 or 1 if this had been defended better, and he could have also, I think, saved the Photon Overcharge, but the desperation Dark Shrine here is gonna go down, and it's gonna have a lot of responsibility on its shoulders because it needs to do damage.
2 more Hellions will just be sent in now because the first 2 were so successful. You may as well give it a go. These Hellions will actually find this probe, or at least he should have seen that it moved out. I'm not sure if he actually
Does he realize? Because that's actually one of the openers with which you're not gonna have many scans, especially if he goes for the mules immediately. So there is a chance the DTs do a lot, but behind this, Medivac and double Widow Mine against no detection.
And these Hellions again are doing a little bit of work. 3 probes already, might get a 4th, maybe even a 5th, which would be disgusting. Yes, he is gonna get the 5th worker as well. Is he gonna get 6? Oh my god, this has been a probe massacre.
Yeah.
10 workers going down in a 7-minute game. That's phenomenal for Fantasy.
He's getting a Forge, which I think I like here, because Observer kind of feels like it takes a long time to reach. Lilbow with the Dark Shrine about to finish his proxy. The pylon is ready to
Fantasy
warp
just
in some
knows.
DTs and send them across the map, but there is a turret on the way at the natural here for Fantasy.
Yep, he absolutely knows. And here come these Widow Mines. There is no detection inside, no Forge on the production tab yet. Both mines will burrow. Ooh, well, okay, they don't get the greatest shots off, but it's so frustrating for Lilbow. That's funny, just 1 worker for 2 Widow Mine
And
shots.
the reload time for a Widow Mine is 40 seconds, and so is the build time for cannons. So if you start your cannons just after those Widow Mines detonated,
They will
they're
shoot
gonna
again.
detonate again. So Lilbow is not ideal. He's gonna have to pull his probes away here
Pulls them
for
very
a long
early.
time. Oh my god.
Yeah, actually very, very early there.
DTs. He might just leave, I think, if the DTs do nothing, but they're actually walking past into the main right now. Oh my god, Fantasy was not looking here at his wall. He had quite a few units there. And these are gonna do some damage. 25 energy and 49 right now on both of his orbitals.
Wow.
What the hell?
That's a very interesting change of events over here. I did not expect 2 Dark Templars to just run into the main base. He could cancel Stim, but it's very risky, of course, to keep both Dark Templars so close
He
to
doesn't
each
have
other.
enough units to actually scan and kill them.
Yeah,
The
maybe
DTs would just walk
he
away.
scans one. Oh,
my
both
god!
Dark Templars get out of scan radius.
That's the lion pig, by the way.
That's a side story that we'll share later on the analysis desk once this weekend or so. But these Dark Templars for Lilbow just
He's gonna have another scan in
completely
a second.
changing everything around. But 1 Dark Templar again, Todd, will still get out.
Oh, this is so annoying right now for Fantasy. He's lost a bunch of SCVs. 13 in total.
Unbelievable.
14 even. So he's lost more walkers than he actually killed in the start. It seemed like he had a great start, but
Yeah.
the DT is far from done there.
This is truly one of these games where you can say, when behind, go Dark Shrine. As Dark Shrine has just completely
He went Dark Shrine
changed.
before he was actually like properly behind. Even though he lost a few probes in the start, like he wasn't like, you know, that decisive. So maybe he anticipated that he was going to be more behind. He's just a genius, man.
It was kind of like a Hail Mary play. It's just to send 2 Dark Templars in right now and hope for the best, because if nothing crazy happens in this game, I am in a world of trouble. Lilbow was completely aware of it. Normally you don't run 2 Dark Templars up a ramp where there is a turret, because you have no idea what's waiting for you, but there was almost no other way, so he just went for it. And he, man, did it turn out great.
Yeah. Fantasy there. About to drop a Widow Mine in natural. The Robo's not finished yet, but with Photon Overcharge and the Mothership Core close by, there is a chance he kills that Widow Mine, which is already injured, before he actually lands and burrows. There we go. If this had been full hit points, would have burrowed on time, but not quite the case. And with Photon Overcharge already being up here on the natural, Fantasy, I don't think he can attack. He's actually about to have Blink here. This is getting really dangerous for Fantasy if he overextends.
Yeah, because he doesn't really have a whole lot of units over here. We're looking at 4 Marauders and 5 Marines. Of course, they do have Stim, so it's something you have to respect. You can blink into that with 5 Stalkers, but the moment you have 2-3 Zealots and then 6 Stalkers, you will suddenly clean up this small army of Fantasy without truly losing anything.
Fantasy's broke, man. He's got 35 SCVs against 50 probes.
Oh, okay, cool down. It's actually, if he would have Stimmed there. These Stalkers on the bottom side actually have blink on cooldown for a few more seconds, so he has to be very careful. But I think if Lilbow just gets one or two more units, yeah, then he can absolutely go for it. Just focus fire the Marauders immediately, or maybe first the medevac.
Oh, he's gonna come back and kill all of this.
Yeah, why is Fantasy here, Todd? This army is so small.
Because he's desperate, I guess. Like, he doesn't know what to do. He's setting up to go for another drop in the main. Lilbow's actually taking his sweet time to clean this up. There is not gonna be a photon of a charge for the other drop that's headed there, but Fantasy was actually trying to rejoin this with reinforcements, but everything there is going to die before the extra units can get there, and I think it's just going to drop in the main.
He got 2 Stalkers for his efforts, so it wasn't absolutely horrific, but it wasn't as good as he would have wanted it to be. Lilbow doesn't really have a whole lot of vision on the south side of his base, but somehow, some way, you could just kind of smell this drop coming. He does still have that cannon, blinks forward. Takes him a couple of seconds for him to move his Stalkers, and Fantasy is just going to leave his units behind. Wow.
You don't abandon the ship abandons you here with the Medivac just boosting away and leaving these bioforces to die behind his Fantasies, back up to 43 SCVs to 53 probes. Lilbow just gonna go for a third base. He's already on Blink plus Colossus. I'm guessing he's gonna follow this up with Charge, so armor upgrades, and I guess also the Templar Archives transition.
It's so difficult to play as we are a Terran player, and you're down 15 to 20 workers against the Protoss in a certain phase in the game. Protoss has a cannon in the middle line, has Blink Stalkers. You want to make plays as a Terran, but you're asking yourself, what is the correct play over here? Because if I commit too much to a drop, he just blinks forward, I will lose even more units, I will be even further behind. I can't really attack straight up because there's a Photon Overcharge and maybe a Colossus waiting for me. So what do? You just kind of have to wait, you have to be patient. The harder you push the issue, the bigger the chances that it will absolutely backfire.
Yeah, Fantasy is really struggling here to make anything happen just because he doesn't have enough. I like that he's not throwing any army away just yet, but he's moving very far out on the map there. If he was to get caught and lost all of this chunk of army, it'd be really hard for him to actually stay in this game much longer.
I think he's gonna try to commit to killing this Nexus. The shields are down already, and he should be able to get this Nexus without losing a whole lot. He's well, one medevac will get picked off immediately, but that was actually pretty okay, because if Lilbow can just saturate that base without really losing anything, then would have pretty much been mission impossible for Fantasy. There is a pylon over here, but these Stalkers will get picked off almost immediately. 2 out of 3 will go down. Not a forward blink. Ah man, Fantasy really got the best of that. That couldn't have gone a whole lot better for him. Lilbow will probably still commit to the attack, and that's still going to be a very tricky hold for Fantasy, who has been supply blocked for the last 2 or 3 minutes. First at 94, then at 100, now at 110. But he might be able to hold there because he has a missile turret, a couple Widow Mines.
Yeah,
good snipe.
Lilbow's, I don't think he wanted to attack there. You're exposed to some counter drops if you move out and go for the attack, so he's just going to pull back fully, knowing that no matter what, he's going to have his third base a little bit earlier than Fantasy. And in this case, we do have the third command center just finished, but he's not quite an orbital just yet. I think Fantasy, from there, he might just try to do, some big drops in the main and attacks on the third base at the same time. That observer saw everything. Ooh, that's like the spy behind enemy lines.
He has to be very careful right now, because Lilbow could potentially wait for this and just receive it. Sometimes even hide a couple of Blink Stalkers on the north side of his main base, and the moment these medevacs fly in...
there's S pylons on the right-hand side, spot that medivac as well. And cannons going up in the main.
It's so risky.
Cannons, Roddy.
It's so risky for Fantasy. The scan makes this even more obvious. Mothership Core is going to scout it. The Fantasy, I really wouldn't do this. You're dropping on top of 2 Colossus. One Colossus takes quite a bit of damage immediately. All that Lilbow needs to do is just wipe in a couple of units. So far, Fantasy hasn't really killed a whole lot.
He needs to bring forward and get those medivacs, but right now Lilbow is killing the army on the ground. Fantasy actually gets away with a lot of those units, more than I thought.
No idea what the Mothership Core was doing there. Say it, Todd. Say whose Mothership Core is it?
It's Apollo Mothership Core.
Alright, nice, for a change. For the first time in history, Todd has not called a Mothership Core that dies randomly a Roddy Mothership Core.
It's okay, we will make it the Apollo Mothership Core here from now, even though he doesn't play Protoss.
Every now and then. I see Sean play a couple cheeky Protoss games here and there. Likes to squeeze in a random session if he has time. But he's the big boss now, Todd. It's hard to play a whole lot of StarCraft when you're the big boss. We're in charge of hiring all these nerds.
Yeah. Fantasy is, I guess, he's kind of giving up with the attacks at this point. Like it's funny, like Terran versus Protoss, you feel like you have to attack, and even as Protoss, like you know the attack's coming, but at this point, like it's just not working out so far for Fantasy. Does he actually try? Oh my god, don't do it.
I'm really, no.
He missed the Stalkers? I thought Lilbow was going to blink down and...
Yeah, actually,
the worst move ever.
What I'm really starting to get annoyed by is that Fantasy's flying around with 2-3 medevacs that are relatively low on HP, especially this one red HP medevac. It's been low forever, and he keeps picking up units in with it as well, which is really starting to trigger me, because like you're just asking for it to die with 6-7 Marines in top in it, maybe a Marauder. Precious cargo thought that Fantasy cannot afford to lose right now, as he's not super rich.
I really like Fantasy's production and base. Like, it's beautiful overlay. Like, you can tell he's on point with everything. You know, starting his upgrades, considering how far behind he was. He was 35 SCVs to 50 probes at some point. He really stayed in this game, not falling super far behind in supply, pumping out Vikings.
The Nexus snipe was crucial, and he even got a couple Stalkers there, and he lost so little. Lost maybe 2-3 Marauders, 1 medevac. But for a Nexus, delaying the Protoss economy for so much further. Otherwise, Lilbow's army would have just completely spiraled out of control. And that double eBay that Funka pointed out has really been working wonders for Fantasy as well, because he's actually ahead in upgrades, and any Terran would always sign up for the fact that they could potentially be ahead in upgrades against the Protoss.
Yeah. Templar Archives finally starts, and that's the latest Templar Archives I've ever seen in this situation, I feel, and that's because Lilbow went for 7 Colossi already. 7 of them against currently 4 Vikings on the map.
Yeah, then I actually think that Fantasy needs to start trading out a little bit of supply soon. Whether it's a couple of Marines or a few Marauders, maybe a medevac less, but you need more Vikings. Because even if he maxes out right now, Todd, he's going to get a maximum amount of maybe 10 Vikings, and that's nowhere near enough. You're never going to kill 7 Colossus with 10 Vikings. Yeah. Not even if you split your Marauders like Maru.
Do you think he can fight before Ghost, though, against this massive army here of Protoss?
I think Fantasy needs to start recycling supply. I truly think you need more Vikings than that, otherwise you can't win.
I guess he needs to drop though.
Yeah.
Like he can't really like send units forward and like kind of lose him. So he's gonna go for a 4 medivac drop there. At the moment, Lilbow is actually leaving his base, but he spots it with the Observer, which turns around there.
No, it's on patrol, I think.
Funka is observing the Observer right now.
Huh? No, it's not. He chases. You're right. Yeah, Lilbow's observer placement has been very solid. He's putting it in different positions than I see a lot of Protoss put their observers, but for some reason he's seen pretty much everything and every single move out and every single potential drop.
Oh, that Stalker revealed that Lilbow knew. What a traitor.
Now the scan goes down. It's difficult to drop into this main base with Stalkers there, with Colossus nearby. I do like this though, because Fantasy's still showing that big army in the middle of the map.
Lilbow left the main, and it's about to be dropped, so he's gonna be in trouble. He's gonna have to send back these Zealots and Stalkers.
That Forge with +3 armor thought is actually gonna be cancelled. That's a pretty big cancel. No +3 armor for you just yet. Dark Templar being wiped in. Of course, Fantasy's gonna have to abandon this drop soon. And that big army on the right side of the map is moving closer. He has to be careful. Oh, that's a very annoying spot for Colossus to defend, but Lilbow is very good in general with that, protecting Colossus.
He has Storm anyway, so I think he might be able to wreck this if he had to take the fight there.
I wasn't too worried about the fight, I was more worried about losing 1 Colossus for nothing. Because that's always what happens to me, but Lilbow is very good in general with blinking forward with Stalkers and keeping the Colossus alive. That random Widowmine.
Yeah. These observers actually are on the map in around the middle. Like Lilbow has so much vision. Like he's marching forward with everything he's got here. He's got quite a bank actually behind this. A little bit surprised he's not gonna have a pylon near there, but there's only very few ghosts.
What's the Viking count?
6 of them. It's 12 right now. Against 7 Colossi, but 4 High Templars to 6 Ghosts. It's all going to be at about the micro there.
EMPs land, but not on the High Templars. A couple storms are available, and there we go. Big storms going down on this army of Fantasy. Planetary, oh my god, that second storm is on top of all the bio units. Most of the Vikings have taken care of these Colossus though, but there is a lot of Protoss left on the ground.
There's still 1 or 2 storms here on that one High Templars. If Lilbow was to use it,
on the Vikings.
Pulling back.
Why not? It's a juicy storm.
Yeah, the SCVs as well. I'm really surprised that he had no pylon there. I think pylon and he finishes the game instantly, but he might be able to do it regardless.
Feels like the Zealots were slow. Yeah, they are slow. He has no charge, Todd.
Oh my god, he forgot charge.
That's actually, like, these Zealots are absolutely useless right now because they will not do anything. So he's wiping in a few more Stalkers. Lilbow has a 25 supply army lead, but it's a pretty damn weak army because, like I said, these Zealots are pretty much useless. Zealots without charge in this phase in the game, you know, bio units will left straight to the bank. There's a planetary fortress. I think Lilbow is overcommitting, even though that storm looks scary. I don't think you can ever kill that planetary there without charge, without Archons, without Immortals. Just Stalkers are not going to cut it for you, Lilbow.
Yeah, Stalkers by themselves like this are pretty bad. He's getting another Templar Archive because he lost the original one, and in the main, I don't know if he was, I don't think he had started charge, but maybe that's what happened earlier when the big drop finally happened and sniped the Forge. He got the
Twilight Castle as well.
Yeah,
maybe.
because he was right there the whole game.
Well, he's going to start charge pretty much immediately. He needs it. He has money for it as well, and there we go. Also rebuild his fort, so he's going to try to get that +3 eventually. Fantasy, of course, has been enjoying that upgrade advantage, as 3-3 has been finished up for him for quite a while.
Both players with a very good walker count there. It's a 74 for Lilbow, 69 for Fantasy, who's still trying to make something happen. Widowman on the right here, getting to detonate again, and not the drop yet in the main to try and do some damage.
I was really surprised that he took care of all those Colossus with 12
Oh,
Vikings.
you guys are a long way from home. But at the same time, there's nothing in the main to defend. Does Lilbow tilt and attack? Yes.
Still no pylon as
No.
well, Todd. I like to point that out again. You mentioned it before. Protoss is not supposed to pretty much ever attack or ever commit to an attack without a pylon. This is incredibly risky. He's going to right-click on the planetary fortress. He has a couple storms available. These storms will rain down all over the SCVs and the planetary will go down. But at what cost is what we have to ask ourselves, as a couple of Colossus have gone down. Oh my god, Fantasy move commanding a couple of his units over there. So maybe this was good enough for Lilbow in the end. Ends up losing a Colossus. This game is so wild and so scrappy.
Yeah. Charge still didn't finish, but he kills so much here. Second ago, he's going to blink forward and get some of these medivacs there. Lilbow trying to finish the game. 91 army against 43, defended back at home thanks to the two Colossi that came out right on time to defend against this bio that
really
was
smart.
up there. And now he's just trying to go for the kill. Pumping out Colossus. 2 by 2 is going to go into that third base. And Fantasy down to his last few forces. Might just, I guess, base trade and play for a draw.
Yeah, he doesn't really. There's no way. Lilbow has way too much money for that. He's getting an additional nexus on the left side of the map as well. It's really sick because that Lilbow didn't have a reinforcements pylon. He warped in all those units at home, and that's pretty much when the drop arrived. So it wasn't just that one Colossus at first. It was one Colossus with 6 or 7 gateway units, and that just worked out so well.
That is a lot of SCVs.
Yeah, that's pretty much all the SCV stuff.
He got lucky because of not having the reinforcing pylon. That's like a dream scenario, man.
Yeah, I know, that doesn't really sound like anything that would ever make sense. Like, it really worked out for the Protoss that he didn't have a reinforcement pylon, but in a weird way it did for Lilbow because it allowed him to take care of the drop. Fantasy panicked a little bit when Lilbow just right-clicked on that planetary fortress, used move command or maybe F2, I don't know what it was, but all those bio units just ran straight into the meat grinder that were those two Colossus and gateway units that were waiting for them in the natural.
Yeah, Lilbow's really getting in there right now, trying to get more and more of the economy of Fantasy, really leaving him with very few SCVs mining there. And at the same time, he's defending back at home. Fantasy down to his last few units. He's still trying to get that, I guess, draw, going for the Nexus.
Sometimes as a Protoss player, these scenarios can get a little chaos though. Like, you know you're winning it, but at the same time you're like, oh my god, I just lost the Nexus. There's no way that he has money to really...
You never know, man.
Yeah, exactly.
I've lost games where I was way more ahead than this.
Than this?
Yeah.
No.
No, I haven't lost. It was a draw.
Okay.
In this case, Lilbow will finish the remainder of the units here of Fantasy, and in the end, takes a sip of Red Bull. He can be pretty happy with himself, because that was a very well-conducted game, I have to say.
It was a wild game though, Todd. It had a little bit of everything, because it had a lot of scrappy moments. It looked like an absolute disaster at first for Lilbow. Lost 4 probes to the first 2 Hellions, lost 6 probes to the follow-up Hellions. Then the Widow Mines went down. You know, I think if I was Lilbow, Todd, I would have left 2 Widow Mines in my main base, no detection. And, you know, lost a lot of probes early on, just give up. But he went for the Hail Mary play, and those Stark Templars, they really turned things around for him. Will Fantasy have what it takes to bring this series back? We'll find out after this short break when we continue with game number 2. Welcome back, everyone, to the Intel Extreme Masters Day 2, live from Cologne, as we were just solidly live, as we're getting almost ready to hop into game number 2 between Lilbow and Fantasy. Todd, you know, game number 1, we watch a lot of PvT, play a lot of PvT. Most of my PvTs don't go that long, but you know, you watch it, and most games it's pretty straightforward, right? Like, either you defend the initial res very well, or you take a lot of damage, and then you either win or you lose. And sometimes mid game gets a little bit scrappy, but this game was scrappy pretty much from start to finish.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by the way both players played super aggressive. I feel like Lilbow is more of a Blink Stalker into Colossus kind of player rather than a Dark Shrine, attempt guy. And Fantasy even opening with such an aggressive opener with the Hellions. But in this case, yeah, it was like non-stop aggression with the first wave coming in from Fantasy, getting a few probes, 4 it was, and then behind this, a lot of SCVs died from those DTs, and in this case, Lilbow was very far ahead.
Yeah, I do think it was an absolute Hail Mary play though, because those Dark Templars need to do some serious work, and if they wouldn't have done it, well, the game would have pretty much ended right there. If you end up losing 2 Dark Templars while you're already down 10, 12 workers as a Protoss, it's pretty much curtains call, it's closing time, it's over, but that wasn't the case, as instead, this man got maximum value out of those 2 Dark Templars. He's of course representing Millennium. It is Lilbow. Very cheeky guy, some
What a
would
cutie.
say. He is, man. Like Lilbow is such a good character. Like he comes across maybe a little odd on camera, and I can guarantee you guys, he is a little odd, but he's a little odd in the right way. It's like I never had any idea whether Lilbow liked me or not, and a certain point I was like, hey, how do you feel about me? He's like, you're pretty nice. I was like, okay, that's great, because I really couldn't tell whether you hated me or you actually liked me.
Is there actually a single French player that's normal?
Yeah, I think Daishi is a pretty normal guy.
I guess on a weekday, yeah.
Friday night turns into a monster, but that's a different story. Oh, Funka is like, hey, what about me?
Well, he's definitely not normal.
A little emo. Huh? Over here on the left side.
Latest introduction ever.
On Bridgehead, we're of course looking at the main base of the man that's representing that pixels. It's Fantasy.
Production must have been confused. They're like, is the intro coming in? They were ready. And Lilbow actually going for a quick scout there for Fantasy as well. Both players want to see exactly what they're up against. And actually, Fantasy is going all the way around there.
I had a little speech about Bridgehead yesterday, Todd, and I wonder if you feel the same way, but I really like this map. Like, at first I thought, well, oh my god, Blizzard, what are you doing? Double destructible rocks, this is going to be silly, but I gave it a fair shot, and I've actually played a lot of very enjoyable games on this match and on this map, and I've watched a couple of great games as well. How do you feel?
Yeah, like at first I was like, what the hell? Like, you're like in a prison, like you're surrounded by walls, like where you were spawning and stuff. But the more you play, the more you kind of realize like all the possibilities that are out there in terms of timings. And even proxies in this case, which actually Fantasy is going to be using here in this game with the factory being proxied. Look at this. Lilbow has a cheeky probe out on the map.
Maybe he's going to proxy too?
Yeah, but only one gas though. Like what could it be if you went for a proxy?
A 4-gate, Todd. 4-gate your way straight into Master League.
Proxy Robo. Actually, you can go for this. A 4-gate, I don't know about that, man.
Maybe just a 1-gate into some 3-gate pressure.
Maybe he's been hanging out on Death Row stream a little bit and found some inspiration.
I think you find different things on Death Row stream, Todd. You know all about that?
That was a 4-gate joke, man. He used to do a lot of them.
All right. So there is a proxy factory. Now something that some Terrans do is they build a little bit closer to the rocks and then they float it into the main base. But that's not going to happen as Fantasy built it further away than that. Lilbow has not scouted this yet, and it's pretty much impossible for him to expect that this is going to be a proxy. He may think it's gas first because he didn't see a Reaper. Now this is not the best Reaper map out there, so that's not a huge shocker. Some Terrans like to go gasless fast expand. But of course, you know, taking game one into consideration, gas first is a very likely possibility. But gas first hits a lot quicker and a lot harder when it's proxied.
I wonder, like, what is Lilbow gonna get? He gets 2 more gates. He wants to do a gateway aggression or what? If he starts, he gets another Stalker. What?
Yeah, I mean, like this is something that Lilbow has done a lot in the past. Defend, gas first build. Oh, Fantasy, are you gonna find that? Oh my God, he got so close. And this pylon can actually be super crucial because the moment that Lilbow will defend this initial aggression, if he doesn't take too much damage, he is going to counterattack immediately. Look at him chrono boosting warp gate technology as well, Todd.
Wow, Fantasy, I can't believe he actually missed that here on the bottom left-hand side. I was so close. The vision just right outside. That poor guy.
Super unfortunate. I mean, but there's still a chance that this does a lot of damage because once again, gas first hits a lot harder when it's proxied, and this time it is proxied. Like normally you expect this at 6 minutes 20 seconds. That's the earliest, 6 minutes 30 seconds. Now it's 6 minutes and 10 seconds, but Photon Overcharge goes down immediately. Will the mine burrow though? I think it will. Yes, it will.
That was so close.
Oh my God.
No, he wishes he had Hellions himself because then he could kill that.
You saw
Forge
it?
is gonna start.
Oh, the medevac's taking a lot of damage. Yeah, Lilbow's just gonna counter against this, Todd. I think he won't even care. He only lost 2 workers so far. He's gonna kill this Hellion, and now he's just gonna probably watch, warp in aggressively already on the other side of the map. Mothership Core will see.
That Widow Mine is about to reload, Roddy.
Yeah, this time he's gonna get a good shot off. He should focus fire, right? Shoot it in the middle. Oh wow, Lilbow knows, man. He's been paying attention to the clock.
He looked at the clock, yeah.
Yep.
And he's not going to be able to start a cannon before the shot is made.
Micro a little better though, no high ground vision over there for Lilbow. Ends up losing one of his first stocks immediately, and now I actually think that Fantasy is in a pretty reasonable position to defend this thought.
Yeah, having spotted the gateways, he knew that this was going to come, and Lilbow is still going to commit. He's warping in some sentries across the map.
Okay, to bust the bunker then I guess, but
The
I'm not sure.
Widowmine!
Not sure if I like it.
It's going to blow up.
This time, oh, he's paying attention again. Well done by Lilbow. He's actually doing that very well. Still ends up losing a couple. Force field will go down. All of the SCVs are on the wrong side actually. If this bunker dies, then maybe there is a chance for Lilbow to make this work. But Lilbow is extremely committed to this, and I think that the Marine count thought is going to be high enough. There is no DPS in this Protoss army anymore, and Fantasy will hold, and with holding maybe even win the game, as he's going to kill this Mothership Core, and Lilbow is down to only 27 supply.
Yeah, kills pretty much. Oh, the probe killed the Widowmine in the main. He was in range for the cannon to spot it. What a hero probe. But behind this, stuck on 3 gateways, what does Lilbow do? I guess he gets a bunch of units and he hopes that Fantasy moves out so he can force field and kill stuff, but there's already a medivac.
I think he's just going to try it one more time, Todd. He's going to wait for 2 more units, and then he's just going to try that final bust. It's the desperation maneuver where you say everything or nothing, all in right now. A chip and a chair, Todd. A zealot and a force field. He's going to give it his all. But against 2 bunkers and a medevac and a couple SCVs, I just don't think this is ever going to work for our French Protoss. So
he got a few SCV kills, but he needs to get about, I guess, 20 more, because there's 28 SCVs for it to be worth it. And he's just going to get in there, try to run past that bunker there. Some SCVs are going to be pulled, and Fantasy will hold very easily.
Yep, there is just no DPS in this Protoss army anymore. 1 stalker or 2 stalkers, and Lilbow knows it. GG is called. Fantasy will even things up with a pretty excellent hold in game number 2, where it started to look a little dicey after that first mine shot at a probe that went into the assimilator. That's, you know, always the dream scenario for a Protoss. You know, you see a mine, you're like, oh god, where's it gonna shoot? And then it shoots at one of your probes that goes into the assimilator, and you're like, victory. And then I think Lilbow just got a little overly excited, Todd, because there was one moment, I didn't point it out, but right when he started with his first 3 stalkers, if you look at the mini-map, there was like blue dot, blue dot, blue dot, blue dot. He had a bunch of units scattered all over the place. Well, I think if he waits and he gets his units together, because there was no bunker at first, he could have gone some serious pressure with 5-6 units, and then I think he can break the ramp the first time and he wins. But the moment he ends up losing 1 stalker and then has to give up high ground vision, wait for the rest to arrive, he already alerted Fantasy about what's going on, and Fantasy was super well prepared from that point.
The execution needs to be crisp with this kind of build. I really feel like as if you make one single wrong move here and there, like even with just defense, like losing a few too many units, or you show up, say, like 20 seconds too late, you've already lost.
Yep.
And in this case, I guess the build order of Fantasy definitely favored him here with the very quick aggression and Widow Mines being planted down the mineral lines before there was even a forge or a robo.
But I mean, I do think that Lilbow kind of accounted on that all along, because he was chrono boosting Warp Gate. So he's like, if you want to be aggressive with gas first, that's fine. I will counterattack. And that's why I already said that this pylon in the left bottom side of the map was absolutely crucial, because it was pretty obvious that Lilbow was going to use that to warp in from that 3 gateway aggression. And he went for it, but like you said, the execution, it just wasn't there. That first stalker died. The second stalker died pretty quick as well.
Yeah, Fantasy with... I don't think too many people expect like a player of this caliber to, you know, do this kind of build too much, but we've actually seen that from him in the past. Even Flash. I remember this one proxy that Flash did that did very well at the time against one of the top Protosses out there. So if you're able to really surprise somebody with something like this, I think that if you get a good start, you're really like propelling yourself in the mid game with a huge advantage. And as a Protoss, you need to make a drastic decision. Do I play super defensive and try and come back slowly, or do I go for an all-in? And in this case, well, he tried to go for an all-in, which didn't work at all.
Nope. Perhaps a little bit rustled by that, as well as Lilbow knows that that could have gone a lot better. I also think that, for instance, if he has a pylon on the right top side of Fantasy's main base and he goes through the rocks, of course it takes a while to go through the rocks, but the moment you're into that main base, then there is no ramp anymore. And any sort of gateway aggression against the Terran that's not standing on top of a ramp is very tricky for Terran to deal with, because what is he going to do? Like drop 7 bunkers around his main base to, you know, keep stalkers away and stuff? That would have been very frustrating, because whenever you open up gas first, Stim is long ways off. Either way, we are loaded into map number 3 that is going to be played on Cactus Valley. And we're looking at the main base of the runner-up of WCS Premier League Season 2. It's of course Millennium's Lilbow. Has a very beautiful keyboard, by the way. Yeah, Todd snapped a picture right before we hopped into the series. What's your Twitter account again, Todd? Is it Johan Merlo?
Yeah. Do you know where he bought this keyboard, by the way?
No.
Because I think he was at WCS where he forgot his keyboard, and Funka lent him his keyboard. So he was like, I'm gonna buy the same keyboard as Funka. So he went online and looked for it, and he was like, there is a pink version of it. I'm buying it right now.
I think it looks great. I would like it as well, using a pink keyboard. It shows that you have a lot of character and heart, though.
Definitely.
Looking at the main base right now of DeadPixel's very own Fantasy, who's still looking for his first big tournament title / victory / championship in his StarCraft 2 career. Apollo went on a couple times about how this is by far and away Fantasy's best year in StarCraft 2. And of course, you know, result-wise and prize money-wise, you gotta agree with that. But I feel in the past, there have often been a lot of fans that have been very vocal about how good Fantasy may have been on that moment. But of course, he didn't just really have a whole lot of opportunity to show it. Because if you're the manager of SKT and you're like, well, you know, we can send out back then Rain or Sue or, you know, Innovation, Parting back then, or Dream, or shall we send Fantasy to Finland? Like, well, then the choice is often easily made. You're like, well, let's go with the guys that have already won 7 tournaments. So it was very hard for Fantasy, I think, to show how good he truly was. And that's probably one of the main reasons why he joined a foreign team. Because he's like, okay, enough is enough, you know, like it's great being part of SKT and I'll get great practice over here, but what's all this great practice good for if the only thing I'm playing in is Pro League? No matter how prestigious it might be, you want to compete in those Intel Extreme Master tournaments. You know, you want to travel around the world.
That's what he wanted, and I feel like DeadPixels really gave him a good chance of doing just that here. And he's been traveling a lot since.
Yeah, a couple DreamHacks here and there. He's definitely been all over the place. We'll see how this tournament goes for him. This group is very stacked, as Red has been playing very solid over the last few weeks, especially yesterday. Red looked very good. And of course, we've got another Titan in this group. That is Fantasy's previous teammate, Innovation. 3 racks opening after CC first on the low ground. Cool. Very old school over here by Fantasy. Very, very European high master Terran leatherish, I would say.
It's actually like usually you get the second orbital before you start the third barracks, I feel, a lot of the time. So in going for that quicker third racks, I feel like he's going to be pumping out a lot of Marines no matter what, and maybe trying to be aggressive there.
You know, okay, Stargate is going to be the opening tech choice for Lilbow. It's a very quick Stargate as well, pretty much as quick as they come if you also drop a Nexus and have a Mothership Core. And so you open up with pretty quick double gas. You know, 3 racks can be very powerful if Protoss plays greedy and let's say goes 1 gate fast expand, drops a Twilight console and then focuses still on probes. Because then by the time that some first 3 racks proc hit, you have like 3 Stalkers and a Mothership Core, and then suddenly like 8, 10, 12 Marines show up, maybe with 1 or 2 Marauders sprinkled in the mix. It can become very tricky to defend, even when you have the almighty Photon Overcharge. But the Stargate is going to give Lilbow a very good idea of what he's playing against immediately. So actually, I kind of like this for Lilbow. I think this is a great moment to open up with an Oracle. It doesn't have to do a whole lot of damage, it just has to see what he's up against.
Yeah, this is one of his go-to builds, actually. We've seen him do that a lot in the past. Get 1 single Oracle, then behind his stack into Colossus, Blink. And even at the times when his Oracle did absolutely nothing, what he did very well with it was keep it alive. Yep. He didn't do any damage, then he kept on using Revelation on the Terran army, seeing where it was, shut down every single attack perfectly, and then from there he can just keep on teching, expanding more, and as soon as Lilbow takes it to a little bit further in the late game, he's going to be very comfortable. Look at that probe out on the map with the cheeky pylon on the bottom right-hand side.
Well, what do you think he's going to do over there?
He's getting Phoenix.
Phoenix, okay.
Is that the Night End 7 gate hidden on the map?
No, there's no way. Maybe he's going to play Phoenix Colossus. I have seen him do Phoenix Colossus in the past.
Why would you need to proxy anything with that?
Yeah, you don't have to proxy. I don't know what he wants to proxy. Thought maybe a second Stargate eventually. Maybe he's going to go Mass Phoenix. God, do I know?
Phoenix DT. I don't think Ravens are a thing.
Man, that would be so sick. Going Phoenix DT against Terran, and it will work. That would be the most amazing thing ever. I'm not sure. So this Oracle didn't really do a whole lot yet. Maybe it's just a single Phoenix to take care of, you know, of medevacs that are hovering right next to the main base.
Lilbow does that sometimes though. Like he drops a pylon like this and like never uses it. He's like, we're gonna test the soundproofing here of the arena.
Like, no, nothing. So far, this Oracle has indeed killed absolutely nothing, but it does keep the Marines at bay for now, and it gives Lilbow a good idea of when the factory is going to be built, when the first medevacs will be out, etc., etc.
Imagine he hides like double forge. That would be
Does he
sick
see
of
the
a build.
Twilight? Yeah, he does. It's right on the edge of the dotted line. The dotted line that our very own caster, Pig, has just discovered today.
It's over for him now. Every time there's going to be a scan, it's going to be a pig scan.
So for the people at home who are wondering what the hell I'm already talking about, earlier today there was a game between a Terran and a Zerg. I think it was Hero Marine and Sue. And Hero Marine threw down a scan, and you see the dotted line of the scan, and the spire is like, you know, half. You know, it's hard to say distance in StarCraft, but let's say, you know, yeah, about that far outside of the dotted line of the scan radius. And then I'm watching the game with Pig, and Pig is like, "Come on, Funka, show me if he saw it or not." And I look at him, and I think he's trolling. I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I want to know if Hero Marine saw the spire." I was like, "No, of course not. The spire was like miles away from the dotted line." He's like, "What dotted line?" I was like, "Pig, when they scan, there's a dotted line. You're trolling me, right?" And Apollo is just like, "You're trolling us." He's like, "No." He's like, "Is there a dotted line?" And we're just like, "Oh my god, we're losing it." He's like, never knew. And then we showed it, and then we just kept pointing out. He's like, "Yeah, you guys are right. There is a dotted line." There you go, guys. You're a foreign pro gamer, Pig. WCS Season 1, round of 16. Did not know that scan radius has a dotted line.
I have no desire to play him in a show match anymore.
Not worthy.
Poor Pig, he can't even defend himself.
It's amazing though, like everyone has these one or two things that for 99% of the hardcore StarCraft fans are super obvious, and there is this one thing that you don't know. And I definitely had those moments in the past as well where people were like, "Oh my god, you didn't know that?" I was like, "No, is that weird?" And everyone's like, "Yeah," you know, my Silver League friend is like, "Oh my god, Roddy, I can't believe you didn't know that." And well, Pig apparently didn't know that scan radius had a dotted line.
That Oracle finally finding some space here to do some damage. 7 SCVs have been killed so far. Actually, Lilbow hasn't lost a single unit, but I think it's about to change here because this army is looking pretty scary.
Wow.
It's going to have 2 medivacs here with it. Lilbow.
How many force fields are we looking at? He needs a couple of force fields.
Yeah, he sees how big it is. He's got at least
He's got
3.
enough to force field this choke point. That's the most important thing.
He's got 2 force fields and a Guardian Shield.
Yeah, it's
goes for the 3 force fields with the
Micro your
Colossus.
Colossus! Micro your Colossus! Okay, well, your Protoss, it's okay. I can make that joke
Second
because I play
Colossus.
Protoss.
Yeah, that's how it works. I know all about it. I do it all the time. And with the proxy pylon already on the map here and very close to the third base of Fantasy, I think there's a good chance Lilbow is going to want to go for a timing. Only 49 probes. Third Colossus is when you go, man.
And this is where we're going to see a gateway explosion, Todd?
Explosion is a big word.
I know that's one of your favorite things to say.
Well, yeah.
You always get very excited when there is a gateway explosion. It makes me chuckle when I sit
There's
at
going to be
home.
an attack, man.
There's Phoenix on patrol over here, making sure that no medevacs will make their way into the main base.
Only 1 gate. What is this?
Oh, it's a
That's the smallest explosion I've ever seen.
Yeah, and it's weird as
It's
well
a
to
gateway
push.
tickle, if anything.
It's weird to push with 5 gates too. Swapping in 5 units at a time. Still has money. Maybe he drops a Nexus, and as TLO would say, that's very transitional. But there is still no fort. Oh, it's the Oracle.
Bullseye.
Yeah. Wow, that was pretty much the best hit he could have hoped for.
Revelation still on his units there for Fantasy, though. I really like the map presence that he has here, already going for his own third base. A lot of Blink Stalkers who are made here for Lilbow, which, if you wait too long, they will become more and more useless. He needs to fight soon for those to be really useful.
But I just feel it's going to be... Oh, that Phoenix thought that Phoenix is going to get picked off as well, and that really hurts, because that means no more eyes on this side of the map for Lilbow. And the thing is, though, Lilbow knows this, Todd. He wants to attack. Of course he wants to attack, but Fantasy is not just going to sit at home with all of his units and receive that attack, because then there is a chance he loses.
Yeah.
I think if Fantasy drops, it's going to be very hard for Lilbow to make sure that his attack stays strong enough. You remember Harstem versus Polt, for instance, from WCS on this map?
Yeah.
Like, that is probably the right way to play it out as a Terran player.
But I think Lilbow, with his observer, by the way, he always has an observer following the army. This is crazy. He has one right behind. I think he just wants to make sure that he gets the fight and that he doesn't get counter-dropped, but still left a bunch of Stalkers back at home. So he's actually going to blink right into that Widowmine. Rip. But yeah, the attack is looking very, very scary. We have 4 Colossi here against just 4 Vikings.
He's producing
oh my God.
4 Vikings at a time though, so like right now it's 4, but there's a good chance that by the time they finally fight, we're looking at least 8, sometimes even 10. Maybe that Mothership Core can soak up a couple Viking shots. Lilbow has so many Stalkers. Fantasy, he's tricking you. This is not his real army. That's, you know, there's another Colossus on the way and way more Stalkers. There's no detection in his entire army, so that's something we have to keep in mind. That Widowmine will shoot a couple. Oh, there's an observer.
Lilbow cannot wedge much longer here. He needs to go right now, and he's gonna go for it. Double time warps available.
Colossus coming in from the north side. Those Vikings are looking pretty damn exposed right now, Todd. If I'm Lilbow, I start working on them a little bit.
He chooses to fight the army instead here with everything he's got. The Colossus getting a lot of good surface area, even though the Vikings are not being taken out. The entire ground army here is dying, and Lilbow's gonna rely on his Blink Stalkers to try and win the game there.
I think that the Colossus died there a little bit too quickly. I really felt he could have killed the Vikings. Now he's blinking forward into Marauders, and I don't think that's pretty much ever a good decision, especially not when there's still a couple of medevacs above it. And this Protoss army, it just falls off so quickly, Todd. No Colossus, no party for you. Fantasy will stim forward and pick up the last Blink Stalkers and makes a pretty damn impressive hold over there.
I love how the SCVs got there like 3 hours later.
Yeah, it's like, guys,
hey, we're here
with the drilling claws. It's like, need us to disassemble a Stalker? We got this, man. We take off his leg. You know? Nah, a good hold though, very impressive hold, Todd, because that wasn't easy.
Yeah, I mean, Lilbow, it feels like the timing was a little bit off, and that's because of the way Fantasy had a lot of map presence. He had to wait up until the point Fantasy was going to realize that, you know, there was not going to be a 3rd base, it was going to be a 2 base, and he was going to pull back, because if Lilbow had moved out earlier, then I think Fantasy would have counter-dropped and done a lot with it. So, good choice in the end, and Fantasy moves on to face innovation in the winners match.
This was definitely one of these final fights though where I would love to see these players just resume it from replay and do it one more time, and I wonder what would happen if he actually focuses the Vikings a little bit, because those Vikings, they were not standing on top of the bio army, they were pretty far in front of the bio army, and there were so many Stalkers in the mix that I always feel whenever you watch, you know, here we go again, but like Rain or let's say, you know, like a Parting or a Classic as well, they split up their Stalkers so they don't have massive overkill, and it's like 5-6 Stalkers shooting at one Viking, 5-6 Stalkers shooting at the other Viking.
You don't think you're asking for too much? He was already force fielding, guardian shielding, and attack moving.
Come on, man. We got to raise the bar a little bit for the Protoss players out there. I mean, like force fielding is something you do one time.
I don't think so. I think we got to lower the bar.
It's a pretty difficult race, guys. It really is.
Guardian shield autocast.
I do think those Vikings were a little bit exposed, and that's, you know, that's my opinion. Because, you know, if you don't touch them, then you have to kill everything on the ground so quickly. Because if you don't, and the Colossus die, you see it. The rest of the army is like, yeah, it looks like you have 20 units left, but all 20 units, they will barely kill a single Marauder. You know, if those Marauders are being healed up, you need Colossus there. It's just so important.
Yeah, when he moved out, it looked like he was going to be able to do well too. But like as you said, Vikings were coming out 4x4, so he got more difficult.
It looks at like, you know, by the time the push starts, it's like he only has 4 Vikings, and then there's 4 more popping, and there are 4 more on the way. By the time they actually fight, I think it was roughly 10-ish Vikings that were fighting.
Which is enough, I think.
Yeah, well, how many Colossus were we looking at? 4?
4.
I think 3 on the south side and 1 came in from the north side. It was pretty cool how this one guy, by the way, like we didn't mention it because there was too much happening, but that fight went down, and then this one Colossus came in via the north side, and Solid just shot down like 2 lasers from the high ground. Like
started shooting immediately. He didn't waste any time, man.
He's like, oh, there's a party. It looked cool. You could really make a couple of cool memes out of that. I believe the boys at the desk are ready, where Fantasy is with James and Sean.
I personally prefer Sean and James, but James and Sean works as well. Welcome here, Pig. Congratulations, Fantasy. GG there. Let's jump straight into the matchup there. I want to know exactly what he thought about Lilbow coming into this, because Lilbow obviously becoming more and more popular recently. What did Fantasy think when he saw he was playing against Lilbow?
자, 이번에 B조 경기 대진표가 나왔을 때 릴보우 선수가 이제 요새 점점 실력이 올라오면서 실력이 좀 올라오면서 자꾸 이제 대회에서 좀 성적들을 좋은 성적 내고 있는데 첫 상대로 릴보우가 됐을 때 좀 어땠는지, 그리고 막상 또 플레이해 보니까 이 선수에 대해서 좀 어떻더라. 짧게 설명 좀 해주시죠.
네, 릴보우 선수랑 많이 해봤는데 할 때마다 쉽진 않다고 생각했어요. 그래서 오늘도 좀 쉽진 않았던 것 같고 그래도 이겨서 만족하고 있지만 경기력을 더 끌어올려야 될 것 같아요.
So I've actually faced Lilbow several times in my past, and every time I face him, it seems like he improves. He shows up with something a little extra in his sleeves. And today was also the same. You know, I could see that he's made some improvements. It wasn't the easiest matchup, but I could see that it's improved.
Pig?
All right. I had a question actually to do with the first game. I think things were going very well for Fantasy. There's about 10 probe kills very early on, and it really felt like things were going great. And then there was that one moment where suddenly 2 Dark Templars ran past the bunker, and everything started to fall apart. And I guess I just want to know, how did that feel, and how did Fantasy recover from that situation, that game turning upside down so quickly?
제가 1경기에서 처음에 릴보 선수의 프로브를 좀 잡아주면서 좀 유리하게 시작하는가 싶었는데 이제 암흑 기사가 들어오면서 조금 상황이 좀 어려워졌었거든요. 이제 그 상황 때 이제 어떤 생각이 좀 드셨는지, 그리고 그렇게 됐을 때 어떤 식으로 이 문제를 파헤쳐 가셨는지요.
일단 다크가 그렇게 무시하고 들어올 줄 몰랐는데 갑자기 들어와가지고 약간 좀 많이 멘탈이 흔들렸는데 그냥 그 게임은 좀 불리하다 생각하고 계속 게임했어요. 그래서 뭐 이기면 좋고 저도 또 손이나 풀자라는 생각으로 게임했던 것 같아요.
I actually had no idea. I didn't expect the DTs to just walk over the bunkers and just come straight into my base and the mineral lines. So I was shocked and surprised, of course. And in my mind, I was like, okay. A lot of profanities going around, and I was like, well, if I lose this one, I lose. But let me just warm up. Let's see how things go.
All right, a really nice recovery there, and of course, Game 2 was a little bit scrappy, but things worked out. Very clever factory play. I wanted to ask about Game 3. Now, it was a very different play style. We went for the command center first, into the 3 barracks, and it felt a lot like there was a read into how Lilbow was wanting to play. Lilbow was wanting to play a bit more aggressively in the early game. This felt like a very safe and economically focused game. Did Fantasy have a read into what he expected from Lilbow going into that game?
일단 두 번째 경기는 그냥 그렇게 하신 것 같고, 세 번째 경기를 얘기를 잠깐 하자면은 일단 처음에 사령부를 먼저 가져가면서 3병으로 출발하셨는데 어느 정도 예측을 좀 하셨던 것 같아요. 릴보 선수가 약간 초반에 좀 공격적으로 나올 거라고 예상을 하고 그런 식으로 플레이를 한 것 같은데 어쩌다가 그렇게 이제 빌드를 가져가게 되셨나요?
일단 2판 연속으로 팩토리 플레이를 했기 때문에 일단 세 번째는 바위 베럭스 위주로 해야 된다 생각했고 그게 잘 맞아떨어진 것 같아요. 네.
So I went, factory twice in the beginning, the first 2 matchups. I'm like, okay, maybe I should do, start off with bio. So I went barracks, and it just happened to pan out really well.
All right, very well played.
All right, a couple of questions then, real quick ones. Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. He's not out of the groups yet, but what does he credit his success this year? Because he's getting quite a lot of results on the board now. What does he credit that to?
자, 올해가 아무래도 정명 선수 스타크래프트 커리어에 있어서 지금 거의 최고의 한 해를 보내고 있는 것 같은데 뭐가 바뀌었는지, 그리고 혹시 딱히 고맙거나 이렇게 고마운 말을 전하고 싶은 사람 있으면 누가 있는지 짧게.
그냥 일단 작년에 너무 한 게 없었기 때문에 좀 더 열심히 하게 되는 그런 동기부여가 많이 생겼고요. 그리고 고마운 사람들 말하자면 일단 데드픽셀 팀에서 지원을 굉장히 잘해줘요. 그래서 고맙고, 지현이가 계속 게임 끝날 때마다 코치해줘가지고 도움 많이 됐던 것 같아요 오늘.
I don't know if I can really call it a breakout year for me in terms of the career in StarCraft 2. It's just that I didn't do a lot last year. So this year, when things changed, 2015, I was like, the change of the year itself was motivating enough for me, and thankfully enough, Team Dead Pixel, and also, as you saw, Patience at the end of the match coming up, coaching me really well, making sure that I stay on focus. I think that's what's working out in this year for me.
So how much would it mean for him to be an Intellectual Masters champion?
우승자가 된다면 어떤 기분이 들까요?
스타1 때 우승을 딱 한 번 해봤는데 스타2는 아직 우승이 없어요. 그래서 올해가 가기 전에 꼭 해보고 싶고 굉장히 기쁠 것 같아요.
꼭 올해 안에 하고 싶다는 특별한 이유가 있나요?
그냥 최대 커리어라고 하니까 올해가.
So I've won once in Brood War. Been a champion once. StarCraft 2 not yet. And I wish that this year is the year as I can see that you guys are, telling me that it seems like it's my breakout year. If a championship in 2015 would be just a cherry on the top.
All right, thank you very much, Fantasy. He's going to be going up against Innovation in the winners match, which is just a couple of moments away. Do make sure, as always, to check out plays.tv for all the action that you've missed. If you're tuning in now or just waking up in America, go over to plays.tv, look for the StarCraft 2 section, look for the Intellect Stream Masters section, and you'll find all of the videos and games that we've played so far. When we come back, it's time to see which player's going through in first place in Group B.